Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. This is the second year that I've been here presenting, so I hope that some of this content isn't repetitive for those of you that were here last year. But what is Weave? I mean, Maggie gave a description. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are and why we're different and why we're kind of a cool, kind of awesome group that helps digital health startups that's based at Women's College Hospital. So first, a little history. Women's College Hospital is not just the brand new shiny building that's sitting across from Mars. It's over 100 years old, and it was actually established to allow female clinicians to practice medicine because guess what? We weren't allowed to practice medicine in this country. So basically, we've created the hospital of the future, and we're the only fully academic ambulatory hospital in Canada. And we were designed to be the hospital to keep people out of hospital. So we focus on that complex chronic disease group that shouldn't really be in an inpatient facility, who's between community and primary care. And we provide really robust specialist services as well as primary care in the clinical practice at our hospital. So with the new hospital came a new strategic plan and came Weave. Obviously, we have health for women and their families as a strategic priority, the management of chronic ambulatory disease, like I said. But our board and our CEO were incredibly innovative, and they decided to include health system solutions as part of the strategic priorities of the hospital. This is not typical of a hospital, for those of you who aren't aware. So we're a group of clinician scientists, experts in digital health and other policy areas that focus on applied health services research. And what we've been able to do is, create this mission and vision around focusing on innovative models of care, which now obviously includes a lot of digital health. And our strategic focus is really in that nexus of research, technology, and policy. And all of the research that we do is guided by the triple aim framework, and actually should be amended to say the quadruple aim. We care about improving healthcare outcomes for people, improving their experience of care, and reducing cost. So what do I do and how can I help you? Why am I here talking to you? So right now, over the last 5 years, we've developed a pretty deep expertise in the evaluation of digital tools. We have a number of clients, I'll call them, including the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, provincial and federal agencies, and industry and startups just like yourselves. Many of you in the room tonight, I'm happy to say, have actually worked with our team very closely. So my main goal is to help you answer, how do we know what you're doing is actually working? How do we quantify that value to your customer? And what are the conditions for successful implementation and scale, the things that you guys care most about? So this is just an overview of the services that we provide in the portfolio that I run. So these range from different types of support based on where your company is in terms of maturity. So for earlier stage companies, we provide a very robust evidence-based market entrance advisory service. So we've worked with a number of startups in the room tonight on understanding the business model, understanding your strategy, understanding who your customer is, and we provide very structured feedback from clinicians, content experts, digital health IT experts, lots of folks from across the system, and consolidate that into a very handy report that you can take and hopefully consider and hopefully skip some of the steps that you otherwise would have had to figure out yourself, not having had made those connections to people who work and function within the system that you're building tools for. On the opposite end, for most mature products, we're a research organization first and foremost. We're staffed by clinician scientists, so we run large-scale clinical trials of digital health tools. So if you are looking to do a validation study, a clinical trial, come talk to me. We can talk about how we support that. And then the stuff in the middle is where things get really hands-on and some of the most valuable advice that I think that we can provide companies in the room. So there's a fundamental lack of understanding due to the structures of our system that some of our previous speakers mentioned around aligning the value proposition of the tool that you're building with the user, with the customer, who is actually often different in our single payer system. And so we work very closely with companies and with organizations to understand that value proposition alignment, to do some practical evaluation before you skip to the end of thinking that you need a clinical trial. Let's actually test and see on a small scale what's happening. Let's map out the workflow and understand what that looks like. And hopefully way, when you have all of that background work settled, you're very well positioned to enter into a larger clinical trial, having answered some of those questions. And I'm now in the red, so I'm just gonna share with you some key takeaways. So I kind of mentioned before, understand who your customer actually is, who will actually pay for your product. And that's versus who the users of your tool are. These things are not necessarily the same. Understand the incentives that are driving your customer, the payer, to purchase your tool. The incentive structures in our system are not that easy to navigate. We can help look through that. Don't build a business model reliant on a fundamental change in the healthcare system. So work with the system that exists currently, obviously while still being innovative, but don't think that someone's going to create a new billing code so that your product works. It's necessary to validate your tool. So you're working in health, and we need to be sure that these products are safe. So we can help you validate tools. Make sure that the funding to validate your product is not something that comes freely. Just like every other business in any other sector, you are responsible for finding the funding to do the research and development that's required to validate your tools, but there's lots of funding opportunities available to you, and I'm happy to talk about some of those.